They were backed by a small but vociferous group of Tory Remainer MPs who equally seemed to detest their leader. The official policy of both the government and the opposition was to abstain, and so most MPs were absent, and the debate became just one more example of Remainer MPs talking to themselves and predicting doom for our country. Calling for the UK to stay in the customs union has become the last gasp of the Remainers' attempt to thwart the wishes of the British people. It would be a backdoor to remain in the EU. IT sets a tariff barrier around the entire EU, meaning additional charges are levied on goods coming from outside, and the tax on these are mostly siphoned off to Brussels. We'd make deals more swiftly and better tailored to our markets. KATE HOEY. These tariffs not only drive up our prices on the high street, especially food and clothing, but they mean that poor and developing countries cannot get access to our markets to trade on a level playing field. We all want to see the poor in the world prosper, both for their own sake, and so they are not reliant on our aid. But how can they do this when the customs union denies them this opportunity? As the indomitable former Labour MP Joan Lester predicted in 1971, because of the protectionist policies of the EU, we shall not close the narrow channels between the rich and poor nations, but rather widen them. I do not believe the interests of the EU are identical with the interests of the smaller, developing and weak nations of the world. That was right then, and even more right today. KATE HOEY is opposed to Britain remaining in the EU's customs union. Who wants to ramp up fears about the Irish border, says KATE HOEY. Colleagues whipped up fears that leaving the customs union would damage business. But they ignored the fact that less than half our trade is with EU countries, yet EU rules apply to everyone, even businesses that never send a single product to an EU country. To protect our businesses that trade in the EU, we need a strong free trade agreement, something undermined by the sniping and negativity that undercuts the government's negotiations. Snipers are playing into the hands of the EU, whose aim is to punish us for daring to leave their club. Staying in the customs union would also mean staying beholden to the rules of the European Court of Justice. Why would we want to do that? It completely goes against what was argued for in the referendum at rallies and meetings across the country, taking back control of our laws and our trade. Outside the customs union, we would make trade deals more swiftly and better tailored to our export/import markets. Look at little Iceland, which has sped ahead with a free trade agreement with China, while the EU trundles along. The EU fears the competitive advantage this would give us, and is backed by the Barnier Brigade in Parliament. Why do they want to do our country down? Throughout the debate there was reference to the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic. Born and educated in Northern Ireland, I do not need lectures from MPs about the situation there, especially as many of them have only recently taken any interest in it. The EU, backed by the Irish government, wants to ramp up fears about the Irish border and says the only solution is to stay in the customs union. It is as if there is no legal border already. There is for, among other things, excise, alcohol, tobacco, fuel duty, VAT and immigration. The primary function of the hard border of the past was to combat terrorism, and modern smart technology can bring virtually frictionless movement. We have had a common travel area with the Irish Republic long before we joined the common market, and this will stay. We cannot allow threats about resumption of violence from terrorists to decide our policy on the EU. Brexit does not threaten the Belfast Agreement, but is being cynically used by the Irish government and all who are desperately trying to thwart the referendum result. Remainer MPs talked to themselves last week, and those watching the debate will have seen through the pretense that this was anything other than another attempt to remain in the EU. The real debate on the customs union will be in a few weeks, and that vote matters. I will be joined then by other Labour MPs who want to ensure the will of the people is respected, and we will have 17.4 million people behind us.